Hello, welcome here. My name is Philip, and in this video we are going to work on a Python game I have prepared for my Udemy course. The Udemy course is finished, but I still would like to implement some additional features, and at the same time I would like to change the style of my coding videos. I would like to have more code along videos without any editing, without any cutting in the lecture, so you can see my development process. This is the game I've been working on for Udemy course, and you can download the code from the description of this video. Go ahead, there is a link to GitHub repository. You can simply download a zip file or clone the entire GitHub repository. When you will do it, you need to install, of course, Python to your computer on Visual Studio Code, and then you just can create a Python environment. You will just type here in Visual Studio Code Python, create an environment, and you will go with a VNV. And from that point on, just go to main file and run the application here. Click it, and here you have application. The basic game that's already done, and the course on Udemy is released, but I still would like to work on more features. Okay, very simple game. We have a turtle and we need to escape the enemy, and an enemy can teleport around. But I would like to want to make it more interesting. I would like to spawn more enemies. I would like to create some attacks and maybe some score system, health system, and these kind of things. So you can see how I'm developing the program. You can maybe learn something. You can code along. You can play some good music in the background, or you can just enjoy your coffee or food and you can just watch the video. Okay, so this is the application. I'll shut this down. And what's prepared for this lecture? So hopefully your applications are ready and running. Maybe just small recap of this, what this code is doing here. So we have just simply one function in the main file, which is starting the game, creating the instances of the window. That's the window, the playing window. You see that's instantiated immediately when you run the game, this black window. Then you have a player, which is a turtle. Then you have an enemy. Then you have a UI code, which is responsible for starting the game and quitting the game. All right, and then we have a keys. We are controlling the turtle, WASD keys. Then there is an update loop running at 120 FPS per second. And then you have here basic functionality. Here is a basic functionality: player update, enemy update, and handle the movement with the keys of a WASD. And you can check this code by yourself, what it does. It's not that difficult code. Okay, you can go over this. It should be also easy to read. But what I want to work on in this lecture is to spawn enemy at random position in the map. That will be first thing. Then spawn multiple enemies, and then create a custom list for enemies so we can easier have a control over the enemies. Okay, so let's do it. Let's have a spawn random position at enemy. I'll create a new function for this in utils file. And to get random position, first let's create a function. So define here function, let's call it a random screen position, like this. And this will simply, we need to get random position on the map. So we have a map like this, right? I cannot draw here. What happened? 1 second. My drawing tool for some reason doesn't work. Of course in the video. Okay, here we have it. Okay, so we have a screen, our playing screen, there is a player and the enemies. And the screen has a width, I think I set it up to 800 pixels. It's a width, and the height is 600 pixels. And the starting position, the map is starting here, in the middle exactly, that's a position 0, 0. So if you want to generate random position on the screen here, we need to generate random position from this minus 400 pixels location, this leftmost location. There's a minus 400, and here is a plus 400 pixels location. Oh, yeah, this is a plus 400 pixels location, and here is 300 location, and here is a minus 300. So we need to define this range, generate random position from these ranges from minus 400 to 400 and from minus 300 to 300 position, and this will get me the random location. Okay, so first we need to get the location on the screen. We can use two functions from Turtle. Up here you can just simply import get or window height, I think window height, yeah, and window width. All right, and to get X position, first I will yeah, if there will be float numbers from the window, no, I think they can just return integers. Okay, so what we are going to do, we'll write here with. We will call here this function window with. Okay, let's call it because it's function. I will multiply it by 2, and the same I will do for height, and multiply it by 2. And it's returning float. Okay, so window with is returning. Okay, this can return me floats. Yeah, if the number is, for example, 101 is my width of the screen. So this would return me 55.5 width. We don't want float numbers. So what we are going to do, we just round it. We will round it. So we'll get the integers. So around also this, like this. And this will get me this 400 and 300, these endpoints for the screen. And then I will generate random position, so X and Y. For this, I will use the random module. So from random, import random int, like this. And down here, we'll write a random rand int, and we generate a position from minus width to width. And the Y position will be random int from the minus height to height. And this should get me the correct position. And just I will return from here vector 2D with as X and Y position. All right, so this is the random screen position, and we can go to, what is this complaining about? Unused window, how unused? I'm using it, window height I don't using. Okay, that's a good error, there should be window height, perfect. Now we can go back to main, and we can generate these random positions. So currently we are not providing any position to enemy, as you see here, but we are hard-coding random position to the enemy in a position in enemy class. When we are instantiating the enemy in a constructor here, we are setting position to 200, 200. So what I'm going to do, I'll write here as a simple init method position of type vector2d. We don't have here vector2d, so I will just import it. So from turtle import vector2d, all right. Vector2d is just a simply tuple structure where we have x and y position, all right? So position will be type of the vector2d, and don't forget here comma. And then I'll just set this position here like this. And I will pass the vector2d from outside, so we'll go to main. And as the position here, I'll pass this, I'll call this function random position. So I will import it up here from utils, a random screen position. And I will simply pass it to the enemy here, like this. And this will generate me random position and pass it to the enemy when enemy is instantiated. Okay, and yes, that should be working. No, let's play the game. And yeah, enemy was instantiated different location. We'll start again. Okay, let's start again. And yeah, it's always on the different position, isn't it? Or it's not. Wait a second. Yeah, it is. It is. Now it was top. Let's play the game now. Now from bottom. Okay. This works. Now, what was the second thing here? Spawn multiple enemies. So you want to spawn multiple enemies. Okay, so we need to create here some list of enemies, and every time, each in time interval, we need to spawn the enemy. So first, let's start with the list. I will create here a list of enemies, like these enemies. This will be a list of enemies, like this. Then I will create here some timer, which will keep the track of the time. So let's call it spawn timer, which will be initially 0. And I will create here interval at which the enemy should spawn. I will create this actually in a global variable. So go to the globals file, where it is here, and create here enemy underscore spawn underscore interval. And let's say enemies will be spawning each 2 seconds, every 2 seconds. And now back to main, and we will go to update loop. Since I want to increase here, keep the track of a spawn timer, in the update loop, I need to be increasing the spawn timer, and I want to increase it here in the else loop because that's my game logic. This is the main game logic is happening here. So spawn timer, I'll be increasing here by delta time, and delta time we can get with the game time, and delta time, which is a time between each update calls. So it's basically time of 1 frame, and this way I can keep the track of the time. But I will be increasing here this spawn timer. I will eventually reach this interval at which I should spawn the enemy. Okay, and spawn timer here, we are creating the new variable, but we would like to use here a spawn timer from up here, this spawn timer. So when we want to do this, you need to, in Python, you need to write here non-local spawn timer. So it will use this spawn timer from up here when it's non-local here. Okay, and I will write here if statement. And I'll write here if spawn timer is greater or same as the global enemy spawn interval, then I would like to spawn the enemy. The first, we will reset the spawn timer to 0. All right, and then we will spawn the enemy. So we'll create here just simply new instance of the enemy. So I will go up here. I'll get the enemy from here. Oh, not here, this enemy here. All right, and here I will create the instance of it. All right, and I will append it to the enemy. So the enemy is append and enemy. Okay, this enemy update will not work any longer. Why this complaining? Enemy spawn interval. Module has no enemy spawn interval. What we have here? Enemy spawn. I will just save it, I think. It should be okay. Yeah. Okay, so now we have enemies here, not single enemy. So if we want to, we need to call update on each enemy to update the position of the enemy and these things. So we'll just get here, iterate through the enemies. So like here for enemy in enemies, and I'll call here enemy dot update like this, and I will remove this one here. Okay, now where we have issues. Okay, here in a reset callback, we are now passing enemy, but we don't have enemy any longer. So just remove it from here for now. This restart game is just when you will click restart game, it will reset position of the player and the enemy. But now we don't have single enemy, but we have more enemies, so I will just remove it for now. Let's play the game, and now every 2 seconds we should generate a new enemy. Okay, 1 enemy, 2 enemies, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we are successfully spawning them. Perfect. But problem is that when we are restarting the game will continue, and we are not resetting position of the enemies. That can be a problem. Okay, so let's shut down the game, and let's try to reset the positions of the enemies now. So actually, I would like to create a separate group for enemies, separate list for enemies where I can control the behavior of the list easier. Also, this for loop will become much easier to handle, and also other things. So I'll create here a new file on the left side, and I will call it group.py. And this group class will just simply extend my, it will extend list. So I'll write here a class group like this, nothing special. And I will extend list. Okay, so built-in list class from Python. And I would like to have a list of enemies or any other game objects. So I will write here another enemy, but I will pass here a generic. I think I'll pass here a generic object, or we can also pass here a list of game entities or generic object. We can do this. From game entity, import game entity. And a game entity is basically class. It is extending turtle base class. So the turtle is a turtle on the screen. That's everything you see moving on the screen. And this game entity is extended also by player. You will see up here game entity, and also by enemy. Where is the enemy? Enemy, and here game entity. So I can say here it will be a list of game entities, and this will work quite well. So we can leave it this way, or when you decide that this group should be for any generic class, you can also do this with Python. You can write here from typing, import type var, and you will just get here generic type t. You will create a type var, type variable. You will call it, for example, t, and you will pass here a game entity, and you can see that you can put a list of t. So now we can pass here the game entities and also other classes. Okay, yeah, this should okay, this will not work this way, I think. Wait a second. There should be bound, or this will be automatically passed as a bound, I think. So we don't need to specify here bound. Okay, never mind. You can keep it here like this group of. For simplicity, we can just leave here a group of the game entities. Let's not complicate the list. Don't complicate the things. List of the game entities. All right, and here we can just simply write your update method will be the instance method, so write yourself. And here we can update all of the entities. So I can write here for entity in self and entity update like this. And this way, first I'll create a group. So I'll go to the main and we can go up here and we won't create a list but a group. So we will import the group. So up here somewhere from group, import group. All right, and let's create a group here. So enemies, we'll create a group. Group is the same as the list, okay? So there's no differences, but there's just one difference. This group have also update method, okay? And we can also extend here multiple other methods, okay? But the base class for the group is the list, so we can use all of the methods with the list. So we can append the list, can clear the list, and all of these things. So okay, now we have a group of enemies, and this way down here, I don't need to iterate through them, because I can just call here now my enemies group, and I can call here just simply update. And what update will do for me, as you saw in our group class, we are calling here update. So this is update. So we are iterating here the entities here, and we are updating them. So we just call this enemies.update on the group. It's much simpler. Okay, and yeah, this should work as before. When we will run it, we should spawn every 2 seconds. But when we lose the game, as you see, it will reset the positions of the enemies. So we need to reset the positions of the enemies, and we'll do it like this. We will go to up here to UI, and we have this callback, restart callback. We'll pass here also these enemies. All right, and the restart game is a function that's called up here. You see, restart game, and this is basically iterating through entities, and it will call a restart on them. So what we need to just now do is go to group, and we can just create here a restart method like this, self. And here we can just write here self clear. This will clear the list, and it should already clear out the enemies. So it should actually, we need to call this. And when I will run this now, let's see, when I will lose the game, the enemies will be still there because we'll be not clearing drawing on the screen, but you see they are doing nothing now. Okay, so now we have cleared the list. That's perfect. Now just need to clear the drawings, and we can do it like this. In group, here before restart, we will again iterate through the entities. And on each entity, we can call, there should be clear method, but I'm not sure if the clear method will clear out also, it's just clearing out the drawings on the screen, but the turtle is not the drawing itself, so I will call the clear on the entity. I think this will do nothing for me. Let's try it out. All right, yeah, it still stay there. Okay, so I think to hide this square, we need to call entity and hide turtle. Okay, so let's try it out now. All right, let's play the game. Okay, and yeah, now it's resetting successfully. All right, amazing. So we are starting the game from the middle, and the enemies are despawned successfully. Amazing. Okay, and this is making the game harder. What else we should improve? Maybe the distance, how the enemies are spawning, because I think they are spawning too close to the player when I'm playing, and the enemies, when they are teleporting, actually, not the spawning. Spawn is good, but when they are teleporting around me, they are teleporting too close, I think. So to teleport further from the player, on enemy there is a method or a functionality teleport here, and you see it's teleporting in the ranges from -70 to 70 pixels from the player. Here it's defined, so I will create here different range. I will create here a global variable. I'll call it spawn range, and I will say to the 120. And the spawn range I will use down here. So I'll say here minus spawn range to spawn range, and y is spawn range, otherwise is minus spawn range. And now when I will save it, I'll play the game. Now they shoot. spawn. Oh, not spawn, but they should teleport further from the... Yeah, they're teleporting further and have a bigger chance to escape. Amazing. Okay, this works for me. If you want to spawn multiple enemies at once, maybe you just want to spawn the one enemy, but multiple enemies, we can implement this functionality actually. Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Let's go to globals and let's create here a variable called enemy spawn count. Enemy spawned count, and let's say we will spawning 3 enemies at a time. Okay, we'll go to main, and as we are spawning here, let me see here, this will move to the function, to a separate function. So we'll create here up here function. Let's say here, define spawn underscore enemies. I'll get here enemies of type group. All right, and what we'll be doing here, we'll be iterating through for enemy or for range, not for enemy. We want to iterate out as many times as these numbers here. So as a spawn count. So I want to iterate 3 times. So I will write here for I in range to global spawn count. Okay, this should create a 3 iteration from 0 to 3, from 0, 1, 2. I don't care about I here because I'm not using anything with the I variable here, so I'll just call it underscore so it doesn't complain or denote this. I'm not using this variable. And I will just go down here to my previous code of enemies. I will copy them. And I will go up here and I will move it to the for. Okay, and we need to also provide here a player because the player is as a target here. So okay, I will pass here also player. For now, player. Okay, that should be fine. And now we can call spawn enemies. So we'll go to spawn enemies down here. Here, spawn enemies. Call this, and we need to pass here enemies group. So enemies, and also player like this. Okay, now we should spawn 3 enemies at a time. So I'll run the game. There should be, 3 enemies at a time. So this is something. Let's make it even more harder. Okay. Okay, so that's our game now. We have implemented some additional features. I'll continue with this game. I will still want to implement here a lot of things, and that will be my new style videos. I will be working on without any cutting, without anything. I'll be just working on the feature, and you can see my development process, and not necessarily in a Python, but it can be any other programming language. It can be any framework or whatever. Okay, and here I'm starting from where I have finished with my Udemy course. So if you are interested to see the rest of the course, you can just check it out. The rest of the course, and you want to see the first half of the course, and so you can continue with this YouTube video. You can check it out, but I will be not always continuing with my courses. I will be doing I will be working on from scratch features, or sometimes in the middle of my project I'm currently working on. I will show you what I want to implement, or like these style of videos are just chilled programming. Just you can play the music in the background, and you can just watch my coding and maybe learn something new. You can let me know what you think, and yeah. So that's gonna be it, and see you around. Cheers.